Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are looking at something I think is just critical for anyone with a big social idea. You know, that person who's maybe paralyzed by the thought of starting a whole nonprofit from scratch.
Right.
This isn't about avoiding work.
Yeah.
It's about avoiding the wrong kind of work.
Right.
Our mission today is to show you how to leapfrog those hurdles.
And that's the key, isn't it? The strategic approach. Look, if you're serious about this, you need the right tools. So before we even start, I just want to direct everyone to a key resource.
Okay.
For educational videos, training, all the things dedicated to small and startup nonprofits, you have to visit smallnonprofitcourses.com. It's really the foundation for everything we're about to get into.
A perfect starting point.
Yeah.
Because that foundation is fiscal sponsorship, or FS, as we'll probably call it.
Yeah.
We're unpacking this really powerful alternative that lets great ideas launch immediately without getting bogged down in what can feel like, I don't know, an 18-month wait.
Exactly. Our sources call it the key that unlocks the nonprofit world. It's for that founder with a brilliant idea who just wants to skip the huge burden of administration.
The IRS applications, the state registrations.
All of it. It's a mechanism for turning that 18-month bureaucratic nightmare into like a 48-hour launch.
Okay, let's get into the core of how it works. Because I think when people hear nonprofit structure, they're just thinking about tax status.
Right.
But our sources say FS provides something more. They call it an established nonprofit's blanket of security. What does that actually look like for a new founder?
That phrase, blanket of security, it's perfect. It's not just a piece of paper. It's an entire operational base. The second you're fiscally sponsored, you sort of inherit the established organization's infrastructure.
So their accounting, their legal framework.
Exactly. Their legal, their accounting, their compliance reporting. It's a great exchange, really. The new program gets instant credibility and an operational backbone, and the sponsor gets to fulfill its own mission by helping these new agile projects make an impact.
So the main draw for the founder, person with the vision, is they get to put 100% of their energy into the mission itself.
Yes.
Not into trying to figure out, Form 990, but what's the trade-off? That's the question I always have. If the sponsor handles the money and the tax ID, how much control does the founder lose? Because that's the big fear, right?
It is. It's the essential tension, and it's a valid question. You gain incredible speed and credibility, but you do give up legal control to the sponsor, especially over the funds.
Oh.
The sponsor has to legally exercise what's called direction and control over the money. But, the best sponsors treat it like a real partnership.
So more guidance than micromanagement.
Exactly. The founder keeps control over the program and the vision, while the sponsor just makes sure the money is managed correctly and legally.
So you're trading that legal control over the treasury for freedom from all that administrative headache. And that takes us straight to fundraising, which has to be the most immediate, tangible benefit. What happens on day one?
It's immediate, massive access. First, the sponsor is already a registered charity, so the new initiative can just get right to fundraising, no waiting.
Zero lag time.
Zero. Second, and this is huge, your supporters can immediately make tax-deductible donations. That's a massive incentive, especially for larger gifts.
Of course.
And third, you instantly become eligible for grants. Think of all the foundations that only give to 501c3s. You just unlocked all of them.
That instant access is it's incredibly powerful. And it's not just about compliance, right? It's about competence. Our sources mentioned substantial reductions in overhead and risk.
Yeah.
What kind of operational support does that actually include?
Well, you're leveraging professional staff that a tiny startup could never afford on its own.
Things like HR.
Bookkeeping, payroll, HR support, insurance coverage.
Yeah.
All the hidden and, frankly, prohibitive costs of starting a nonprofit. By using the sponsor's infrastructure, you de-risk the entire early stage.
So you can focus on impact instead of accounting software.
You got it.
That's a phenomenal deal for a startup. Okay, so we've got the foundation, rapid launch, instant credibility, fundraising access. But what about the life cycle here? Is this meant to be a permanent relationship, or is it a launch pad?
It can really be either. It just depends on the founder's goals and, the sponsor's model. Our sources are pretty clear. There are two main paths.
Okay.
Some programs just stay with their sponsor forever. Maybe the administrative burden is just always going to be too high, or the mission is just a perfect fit. They decide outsourcing that side of things permanently is the best way to go.
And the other path, breaking away.
Precisely. As a program grows and, proves its viability, it might get to a point where it needs full legal control.
And it can handle the costs itself.
Right. So they break away and form their own independent nonprofit. And what's really interesting is that some fiscal sponsors actually see themselves as incubators. They require you to become independent after a few years.
So it's built into the agreement. They're actively pushing you out of the nest, so to speak.
In the best way possible. They're not just hosting you, they're providing the blueprint for a successful exit.
What kind of support are we talking about?
It's very structured. Many sponsors will actively help you with things like drafting your bylaws, setting up a good board, creating a strategic plan. It fosters what the sources call project autonomy. It's more than just training wheels, it's a real mentorship.
So it's less of a transaction and more of a strategic partnership for the good of the whole sector.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So how does this dual function, incubating and hosting, help the nonprofit world overall?
Well, the source material has this beautiful description. It says FS functions as both a prod and a bulwark.
A prod and a bulwark. I like that.
Right. It's a bulwark, a defense protecting the new idea from all the regulatory dangers. It saves good ideas from death by paperwork.
And the prod.
It's the stimulus. It prods and incubates these ideas, pushing them toward independence. The result is just so much more variety and innovation across the whole sector because fewer great ideas are left to die on the vine.
It's like a market efficiency tool for social good.
Ah.
I love that. Now, you mentioned sponsors have different models, so fiscal sponsorship isn't just one size fits all.
Not at all. And that's absolutely crucial for a founder to understand.
Why is that so important?
Because it's a mature field. There are recognized models like Model A, Model C that determine the level of legal control, liability, and the fee structure.
So you have to find the right fit.
You have to. You need to know which model aligns with your goals. For instance, some models mean the sponsor takes on all the liability, which is great for reducing risk, but the fees are higher. Others offer less support, but are cheaper. Understanding that is key to a happy fiscal sponsorship relationship.
And that brings us to the resources. If this is so complex with different models and legal details, where do you go to learn how to navigate all this?
Well, the good news is there's a ton of specialized training out there, which really shows how vital this strategy is. I mean, you see resources with titles like Shall We Engage? Tips and considerations for a happy fiscal sponsorship relationship.
Just that title alone tells you it's all about managing expectations and communication, isn't it?
It is. If that relationship isn't clear, all the operational benefits can get undermined.
Right.
And the study goes deeper. You see things like transformational fiscal sponsorship, which shows this is a high-impact strategic choice, not just a temporary fix. And then you have the practical guides like fiscal sponsorship, the nonprofit startup alternative, and things you should know, including where to find one.
The fact that there are so many specific resources really drives home the point. This isn't a shortcut. It's a serious, established strategy.
Absolutely. The whole point is to minimize wasted effort and just maximize your impact from the very beginning.
So to wrap up this deep dive, the main takeaway seems crystal clear. Fiscal sponsorship is a powerful, proven way to activate your mission and your fundraising immediately. You get to bypass those huge administrative hurdles, and you get instant credibility and support through that blanket of security.
And here's a final thought for you to chew on. Given how critical all that operational support and credibility is, fiscal sponsorship shows us that success in the nonprofit world, well, it often depends less on the idea itself.
And more on
choosing the right structure to leverage existing expertise and just accelerate your impact. It's about choosing an institutional partnership over a solo administrative struggle.
That's a critical point for any founder to understand. Thank you so much for walking us through all of this.
My pleasure. And for everyone listening, remember, for the tools, inspiration, and educational videos to help your small or startup nonprofit succeed, your one-stop resource is smallnonprofitcourses.com. Make sure you check it out.